Okay.
All right.
Good
Well,
morning.
hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning. I want to thank you for joining us for this special episode of Black Table Talk. And we are going to be talking today about cryptocurrency. Our special guest who is with us today is Miss Deeann Mathews. Deeann Mathews is a multi-gifted, multi-talented young lady. So I'm going to have her make a brief introduction, and then she is going to jump right into what we need to know about understanding cryptocurrency and some important factors in the cryptocurrency market. Deanne, welcome today.
Thank you, Shante, and thank you again for this opportunity. Well, my name is Deann D. Mathews, and I'm the author of Season the Crypto Bull Run for Financial Freedom. And I have become the friendly crypto educator on top of a life of doing both academic and spiritual education. I'm a Sunday school teacher at heart, so I'm always trying to break it all the way down to make sure that um, people understand the treasures and the truths that they have in Scripture, and that just rolls out into everything else. If I'm teaching you an English class, we're going to get into, okay, how do you use these prepositions and all the rest? Well, when I came into crypto, I had no idea that I was going to become an educator in this, but the Lord just said, look, I'm going to put you in here. You're going to go up this learning curve. You're going to see the rise and the fall and experience all of it because I have people for you that I want you to share this with. Because as you know, your own people, if you leave it alone, African Americans will be the last in and will get hurt again. And so that's how this book happened in short. How did I get into crypto? The book breaks down the cycle. One of the things about crypto that people don't understand is it's a cyclical asset. If you wait for the hype train, you're too late.
Mm.
And that is the thing that most of us as African Americans are not brought into the very end so that people can take our money. I won't keep it 100 with you. But when you understand the cycle, right now, every leap year tends to be a good time to start, and the year after the leap year is a good time to get out, and the next two are pain and suffering. So if you know that, then you can
Mhm.
make successful moves. And that largely is what the book is about, and with details about how to get into the market, what tools to use online. It's not as complicated as people think it is. I break it down to you. I think the book is 113 pages. It's not a huge read, so you will be able to get it, grasp it, and get moving.
Yeah, I was able to read it in 2 hours, and it really gave me a greater understanding because I had no, I went into it with no knowledge, and then I saw how easily you started to explain it. You started to explain the exchanges and those kinds of things, the differences between platforms that you could use. And so that was really, really helpful. And, with my husband who is invested in cryptocurrency, you were able to meet with him, help him to get things going, and it was really good. It was really good. I do want to point out that when you talked about just now about when we get into technology or whatever it is, it's oftentimes at the tail end of it, and so we wind up being consumed rather than consuming the
Yes,
product, the good that we need. And I thought about
absolutely.
Dr. Claude Anderson, how he always says that if Black people don't get in front of technology, it will
Yes,
run them over. They've got to get ahead of it and in order to not be run over by it. So this is a prime example of that.
yes. Dr. Anderson is an influence on how I think about. I've read Powernomics, and so he's an influence on how I think about things like this. And you see, you have these lovely bulls. You don't want to be under their feet, and that's often where we find ourselves. It's just what I'm trying to prevent.
Hmm.
But you're
Hmm.
right. Dr. Anderson did inform us we need to get out there in front. Well, somebody's got to put together a guide that the people can access and read and make use of. And I appreciate it was still very early in the process when you and your husband were kind enough to have a look at it. And I appreciate that you did that.
So tell us a little bit about the kinds of crypto. What's the difference
Okay.
between the crypto, and then what's the difference between the types of platforms that you can operate through?
Okay. So there are two major kinds of crypto, and then there is a third. It's just not many representatives of it, but it does fall into three divisions. Bitcoin is what's called a proof of work. The way Bitcoin is created is that you have what we call mining. It basically is decoding what's called cryptographic hash. You break a long string of numbers and letters in order to mine it. Because of this, and because you have to have it validated every step of the way, it is both transparent and it is open, it is transparent, but it also is well validated. You have no idea what happens with your credit card the minute you spend it after it leaves your hand. You just hope that it works out the way it was supposed to, and it does most of the time. But it's also connected to a system of money where you don't get to, the Federal Reserve is unelected. So you do
Mhm.
not get to have any say over how much inflation there's going to be. Even in this election, people are like, oh, I'll vote for president based on inflation. You're not ever going to be in charge of that. It's not a transparent process. Bitcoin is a transparent process. At least you can see what's going on. Bitcoin was created by Mr. Satoshi Nakamoto to be a form of electronic hard money that cannot inflate and cannot be dominated by legacy financial institutions.
Mhm.
However, in the same vein, a gentleman named Vitalik Buterin came along a few years later and said, okay, good, we have money. We need e-commerce that is also decentralized and not controlled by large corporations, where people can come and build apps for e-commerce and not have to check in with gatekeepers. And so he began to build what was now called Ethereum. He also affectionately called it the infinite machine because it allows you, as long as you can manage the coding, I think they use Solidity, you can build your own decentralized apps, and that became dApps. But Ethereum went from proof of work, which is the way it's created, to what's called proof of stake, which is people who own so much of the coin can now become validators. Proof of stake is, okay, you left enough up here, you invested enough, we allow you to have some what's called governance. And finally, there are proof of brain blockchains, of which there are at least three, because they split off the same platform. Let's say you didn't have any money to start in crypto because it was 2020 and I didn't. So these allow you to have access to social media front ends where the community can vote a certain amount of that cryptocurrency to you if they appreciate the content. And a lot of people in, let's say, Africa, the Caribbean, and Latin America are not able to start with investment, but what they'll do is they'll get Steam or Hive, which I use and recommend, or Blurt, and then trade it for Bitcoin. And that's actually how I got my first investment capital. I was
Wow.
on Steam at first and then moved to Hive. These are called proof of brain. You show that you have a brain that can produce good content, the community shares with you some cryptocurrency proceeds that you can go and then share for Bitcoin, trade for Bitcoin and other ones.
Wow. So the proof of brain aspect is the way that people can get in to get currency donated to them by the
Mm-hmm.
content that they put out. And what would those
Yes.
three platforms again? You said
Okay,
Steam.
so I don't recommend Steam and Blurt. It's a
Okay.
long story. Steam was the first. I gotta give credit where credit's due. But then there was a attempt at a takeover by Mr. Justin Sun, so it split, and the people who wanted freedom went to Hive, and Hive is the one that now is supporting digging boreholes in Ghana, helping people in Venezuela get the. I recommend that one. Some people were not happy with what came out there, so then they split again into Blurt. And while these other two exist, I recommend both Steam and Blurt exist. I recommend Hive because it has the highest community values. And if you look around, you look at the communities from the global south are doing better on Hive than anywhere else.
Gotcha. All right. So for people who don't have the capital to invest, they can go to Hive, create an
Yes,
account, begin
yes,
creating content,
yes.
and move into getting donated currency so that they can trade it to get into
Yes.
Bitcoin.
The
Very
way the
good.
blockchain works is that when the community votes on your stuff, the blockchain takes that as an order and applies ever so much based on how much stake it takes advantage for, like proof of stake
Going
blockchains.
to the bus.
It takes advantage of that
Yeah,
to
bus
determine
going.
how much to allocate
Yeah.
to you. It's not strictly a donation because no money comes out of your Hive account, but it directs the blockchain to distribute from the reward pool to you. I need to also say this. In the epilogue, I have what's called the square deal plan. If you need to make a fast start, how to get there and not to be and to be able to work in the community, and because of support, to be supported and be as supported as you get there. And also how to avoid plagiarism and things like that, because Hive has very strong rules on that. So, but in the 10th chapter, I walk you through the whole process of getting started and how to get started in such a way that you do well in a short period of time, relative to me bumping my head for about 9 months. Thankfully, I was a journalist, so I knew not to plagiarize. But there was a whole bunch of other stuff, and I try to take the sting out of that in the epilogue of this book.
Wow. So as we move into um, talking about some things that specific to content creators of color, and also more importantly to Black and Indigenous persons who are interested in getting into cryptocurrency, what are about 5 things that you feel is important for people to know about getting into this market? What do you wish somebody would have told you coming in?
The learning curve is considerable. I mean, I'm thinking about the hardest things I've ever done and the emotional intelligence that you need to learn this market compared to the closest I can get, maybe the last 6 years of my grandmother's life. The emotional intelligence, because that was a question of my grandmother is a Black elder in today's medical system. So there are a lot of things they're not going to do for her, but the Lord would show me certain things that could be done. And so I had to learn it. There was one incident, and I'm not going to get into it here, but I'm just saying it's that kind of learning curve of just, you're going to feel stupid. It's going to trigger everybody telling you you can't do it that you ever heard from anybody not Black and Indigenous your entire life. And you're going to have to then realize you got to power through it. It can be that level if no one tells you ahead of time. The current curve is considerable. It's not as high as it used to be because I've leveled that curve a little bit, but you still have to get used to the ups and the downs. That's the one thing. It will trigger you. It will trigger everybody ever said about Black and Indigenous people not being smart. It will trigger you. It's a tough road. But I've leveled it as much as I can. So you don't go through that as much. But the emotional intelligence, whew, you're gonna find out if you know Jesus for real. You go into crypto. Cause whoo, I wish people had known that. I had known that. So I'm taking that off the table as something that people don't know. But when you get there, you ask for 5 things. There are no gatekeepers. Crypto is like a lot of technologies. These are called decentralized technologies. Since no one strictly owns them, there are no gatekeepers. You either have the skill or you don't. You either understand how the market works or you don't. On one side, it takes a lot of emotional intelligence because no one cares how you feel about it. There's no one to care how you feel about it. But the good thing is, there are no gatekeepers. Once you learn how to work it, you work it. Simple as that. Okay, number 2, it is a market. The market doesn't care what you want. This is why it's very important for you to get the knowledge that you need to get in on the right end. It is July 2nd, 2024. If somehow you wait around and you wait for the crowd in July 2nd, 2025, you're too late. The market doesn't care what you want. Bitcoin has its own cycle. It halves in leap years. So in leap years through the next 18 months, it tends to go up. And after that, it tends to go down for the next 18 months. If you wait too late, I can't help you. Nobody can. The market doesn't care what you want. It follows its own rules. Number 3, because it is cyclical, once you've learned it, and I say this as caveat, Bitcoin is only 16 years old. So as far as we have known so far, it has followed the same cycles. Bitcoin
Mhm.
is cyclical. Once you learn how it works, you can do this over and over and over again. Number three, there are thousands of coins available to you, but you do not have to buy one whole one of anything. When I last looked at the Bitcoin numbers yesterday, it was about 62,900. But the same way the United States dollar is delineated into dollars and cents, Bitcoin is delineated to Bitcoins and Satoshis. You can use as little as $10 at a time to start building towards your first Bitcoin or however much you have. And some platforms have calculators, so you can basically put in this is how much I want to invest, and it'll tell you how much Bitcoin you're getting. So
Mhm.
don't be intimidated by the high numbers. And the other thing is, there are other coins beside Bitcoin that may give you a better return, given that it is July. Ethereum is out there, and Ethereum is the infinite machine. It is the second most stable, the second most likely to be here over a long period of time. It probably has more room in it to triple than Bitcoin does. Probably not financial advice, just looking at what charts are lining up, looking like. And there's others. I recommend Hive. And there are more. Um, 0.5 and a half. Utility. Make sure that it's not MAGA hat, which did
Mhm.
very well because of Mr. Trump's debate performance, but
Of
may not
course.
do so well after November if the 68% of us who were not impressed by his debate performance have our way. So
Mhm.
look for things that have actual utility. I mentioned that Hive, community members of Hive, are building boreholes. They're literally bringing clean water to the world. People in Venezuela have a whole district in Sucre State where they have businesses that take Hive back dollars and revitalize that whole business district.
Mhm.
Utility is very important.
Awesome. Final thoughts on where you see crypto going and how important it will be for possible destabilizing of a
Okay.
country, say the United States. If God forbid Project 2025 comes into full manifestation, we know they're trying to implement stuff now, but if that comes into play, how important can something like cryptocurrency be to the future?
Well, the beautiful thing about crypto is that a lot of Republicans, even those involved in Project 2025, actually favor it because there are an awful lot of poor white people who are not going to catch up with the system being the way it is. Many Republicans favor crypto.
Hmm.
That's sort of the irony, but I also think it's because they don't fully understand it.
Hmm.
If Project 2025 has its way, the kind of education necessary to grasp how to use major technology will be largely moved out of the reach of people like us, who are very much dependent on public schools. So, in the next generation, it very well could, if they are able to do what they want to do with the Department of Education, they essentially are going to be cutting off the ability to be educated in such a way to get STEM. So, there's flip sides to that. But what crypto, and also it depends on regulation. Right now, the Republican Party is not for shutting down access to crypto in the United States of America at the moment. Now, if too many of us get involved and do too well, they may change their mind about that. Crypto Project 2024 has a real problem with Black women. On the fourth page, it's
Hmm.
classified all of us as just single mothers who are the reason society is going to pieces. And I say that
Wow.
with all authority because the only children they mention coming from single mothers are Black children, thereby
Mhm.
implicating their mother. Black women are not 40% of anything in this country. Now, Black men have their own sections. Read the prison section. It's just not as obvious because they have a few Black men who helped to write that. It's not as obvious, but it has it in for both. But this is the cycle where you want to get involved and get positioned so that we can then be involved in helping young people understand how to work capital markets, period.
Hmm.
Um,
So,
no matter who
so
you are. Oh, go ahead. You had another
I
question?
was going to say, so just reiterating, when you talk about getting into the market, you're definitely talking about now is a good time
Yes.
before July 2025. This is a good window
Yes, this
to
is a
enter.
good window because the Bitcoin halving occurred in April. So technically, we're not even April the 20th. So we're not 3 months into the new bull run yet, even though because of the ETFs it bumped up a lot. That will
Mhm,
never happen again. If you caught it, you caught it. If you didn't, you didn't. That'll never happen
mhm.
again. But we're only 3 months into the new cycle, and the cycle tends to be 18 months. Now, we may have gotten out of the gate a little bit 3 months early in January because of all the ETFs, meaning that your end date may end up in July. But mathematically, the end date should be late October, early November
Okay.
next year,
Okay.
at least in theory. So between July and October of sometime next year. Every leap year, you have this opportunity, as long as the cycles pretty much stay the way they have been. This is a good time. July 2025 will therefore be too late for most people. By the time Bitcoin is on the news and a person my mama's age knows what it is because it's on the news every day, any asset actually, by the time that happens, it's too late. And this is where African Americans usually get on the train. And I'm saying, no, get on the train before. Because by the time it hits $100,000, starting from where it was down to $20,000, yeah, it's not going to do that again. It's not going to $500,000 from July next year, but it
Yeah.
could hit 100,000, 120,000, 150,000 from here, maybe. Don't know
Hmm.
for sure. Got to get back to all-time high, but you're going to do better in a leap year than you are in any year after it, until, of course, the next leap year.
Wow. Okay. So, Deanne, I do want to thank you for coming in and sharing with us today. I know that some people were not able to get in right at the top of the presentation, but we are recording. So we are going to try to upload this to some different platforms, and I will definitely tag you all in once this is uploaded. Deanne, tell them as we close out today, tell them how they can get a copy of your book and any other services you offer concerning crypto.
Okay, so the book is available on Amazon, Seizing the Crypto Bull Run for Financial Freedom. And it's there both as an ebook and as a paperback. So you have both options. I also have a course available if you would like me to hand walk you through this process of watching me go to the different exchanges, go to the different websites, and showing you how it all works together. I also have that available. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram. I don't spend a lot of time on Twitter, but I am there, and I just started a TikTok. So I'm trying to make myself available on a number of platforms, and I have a crypto playlist, my crypto journey on YouTube. And also, there's an exclusive playlist for those who've read the book to come in, ask questions. And if you ask a question that way, I generally try to do a video to explain it. So I try to make myself accessible. But the book is definitely available, and we'll have a link up to the course. By the time this loads up, we'll have all that for you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Deanne, thank you so much for your time
Thank
and
you.
simplifying the process and breaking some things down because, like you said, with our community, we want people to understand cryptocurrency. There's a lot of ads out and information, but some of it can just be confusing. And like I said, I was able to read your book within 2 hours. Now, I'm a pretty fast reader, but I say someone who, maybe reads a little bit slower could probably finish your book in maybe 2 or 3 days. It's not a
It's a
very
little bitty
lengthy,
book.
yeah, it's
It's
not a
only
lengthy
that
book.
big, not a lot.
It's not a lengthy book, and you simplify the process. And that's what I can really, really appreciate. So I encourage you to get her book. And if you're interested in signing up, we will have those links. We'll drop those links once this video hits all of the platforms. But thank you again. Thank you, everyone. And I look forward to uh, getting more involved. We're invested in Ethereum. And so Deanne has been very helpful in explaining that and walking us through some of the processes. So that is why I am having her here today,
Thank you
because
again.
she is the real deal and she knows what she's talking about.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take
Bye,
care of you.
everybody.
All right. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.